that welcoming you all to the first session of day 3. So will I get to see that energy? Will I? Just put it in the chat box, please. Will I? Yeah, I'm watching. Yes. Oh, that's yes with too many S's. Good, great, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. S, 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 S. Great, great, great. Wonderful, wonderful. So now allow me to share my screen. And there we are, beginning our journey on intellectual development. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of overview of the intellectual development module for class 5. We have under kindling the intellect, we have Rishi who discovered the atom, which is lesson 3, followed by we have management. Under management we have assembly line, which is lesson 10. Under aesthetics we have an African power revolution, which is lesson 16, and we have independent thinking, which is 105 or 105, which is lesson 20. So in this, for class 5, we are going to be seeing Rishi who discovered atom and an African power revolution. So Rishi who discovered atom, right? Now, what's the lessons layout? The lessons layout is on Minama, would it be possible for you to switch off the annotation?
No, I think you have to do it at your end. Because my choice is annotate, so you have to say stop annotating for others.
Whoever is sharing the PPT has to stop annotation.
Didi, can you just guide me on how do I do that?
Yeah, just share your PPT.
Okay. And
go to the top. Go into full screen.
Go
into the presentation mode. Yeah, presentation mode.
You are already in the choices of annotations. In the bar which has the choices of annotation, there is more, M-O-R-E. Right?
Yes, Swamiji.
The more is there, click the more, and it says disable annotation by others. Thank you.
Got it, Swamiji. Thank you so much. So we were talking on the lessons layout, which is the why, what, who, and how. And this becomes here, especially from class 5 onwards, a little important, because we want the child to understand why are we even studying this value here, right? Or what is the need of the value at this age of the child. Second aspect is what are the changes we intend to make for the child in their understanding, attitude, and behavior, right? So as a teacher, even we can introspect on all of these before we start taking a class. Who are we citing for the practice of this value, and how are we getting the children to practice it so that they would develop the intended value? Now, this is the major layout which we all can also ourselves work at, but this is my bit of working, which I feel that why this value is because it kindles, so that the curiosity in them is kindled and they understand the importance of analyzing the situation. And what do we intend is logical approach. We would like to cite a real example, which again we can look for, and then how it's all on the habits to develop that we would be covering quite soon. So the class arrangement is the VE book that we have, and I would begin the session by saying that, have you ever wondered, the leaves are green because of the chlorophyll, but why do they become brown when they dry up? Now, all of these questions are actually already there in the book, but it's just that we can begin the session with this, trying to make the kids think, they start thinking. So why are manholes on the road always round while in houses they are square? So like that, few more questions, followed by, here is where we have Rishi, who analyzed a grain of rice and proposed the theory of atoms. So let's listen to his story. And that's where I would begin with the story, saying, how Rishi Kanada, whose original name was Kashyap, and when as a child he had gone to Prayag to have a dip in the Triveni Sangam, and there when he saw people who was filling rices, the rice grain. So he started picking up all of them, and because of which he was sort of slowing down the crowd which was following him, which was on the way. So when his father asks saying, what are you doing, and he goes up to say that, this grain of rice would eventually help a person have his meal, or if we collect more such grains, and it'll help the family, or in turn the entire society. So like this, it basically shows that how as a child he had this universal vision, or he had the bigger vision, and how he had a greater vision. So likewise, he went on to bite this grain of rice until it could no longer be bitten, or until it could no longer be broken into piece. So that's where he proposed this existence of anu or paramanu, right? And that's where this atoms theory got propounded by him, and he stated these reasons, which is again mentioned in the story. Here we have this activity, and which I would like you all to play. So we're going to be spotting the differences between these two pictures that we see here, girl on the left and girl on the right. So in the chat box now, can I see the answers, please? Hairband, okay. Teddy bear bow, okay. Hair clip, yellow bow, okay. Great, Sujata ma'am, wonderful. Neck band, all right. Hair clip bow, okay, wonderful, wonderful. You people are awesome. So let me give you a round of applause for that. Okay, great. So here we move on. The second thing is, that's a pretty interesting one. So here is where we have our friend who has locked her computer with the password and wrote down the hints on a paper, and we are just gonna try and unlock it. So we have 1 of grapes, 5 of apples, 3 of mangoes, 2 of pineapples, 3 of blueberries, and 7 of bananas. So let me see who can crack the code. Quick, quick, quick in the chat box. Genius! Who is this genius? CV? Okay, we have a school there who has done it. Great. Savita ma'am has also done it. Wonderful. 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 Okay, it's genius. Okay, so let me try giving you some more different permutation combination for such an activity. We move ahead. This is the one. So if 3, 1, and 20 is cat, what is 10, 1, 13? Quick, 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 quick in the chat box. If 3, 1, 20 is cat, what is 10, 1, 13? Jam! Anjana ma'am, brilliant. Okay, yes. So for all those who couldn't figure out what we just did, it's basically we had all the letters corresponding to the numbers. So 1 to 26 letters, we had 1 to 26 numbers. So 1 is for A, 2 is for B. Likewise, when you go, you'll be able to figure out if 3, 1, 20 is cat, what is 10, 1, 13. Okay, now if mind is written as 15, 11, 17, and 6, what will heart be? If mind is 15, 11, 17, and 6, what will heart be? Think, 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 think. Just correspond the numbers, and you're a little close to it. Let's try. I know it's a little difficult one, but let's just try. 15, 11, 17, 6, what will heart be? 8, 8, 5, 11, 8, 20. 1 minute. Well, okay. Anybody else getting a different answer? 7, 5. Okay, so I'll just tell you what we did. Here we've just added 2. Okay, we've just added 2 to every letter. So here A becomes 3. Okay, A becomes 3. Therefore, if you just do it likewise, the answer you would be getting it as 7, 3, 20, 22. Or yeah, there Haripriya ji has got it. Okay, all right. The next one is, if atom is written as ZSTL, what will Rishi be written as? If atom is written as ZSTL, what will Rishi be written as? QHRGH. Oh, wonderful! Wow, fantastic. So these were some of the permutation combination through which we can build up on cracking the code. These were just few examples, but of course we can come up with more. And we also have something called a spot the difference in the emoji. That's again a brilliant activity. I have tried that in my college, and it was a big hit there as well. So here is where I would just in the chat box put the two links so that you all can also refer to it at a later stage. Yeah, these are the two links. I request you to please copy it down somewhere or just open in the new tab and you can keep it. Okay, so that's where we understand that problem when analyzed leads to solution, right? So now some of the habits that we can develop here is that I play some of the brain teaser games, just like how we did now. I look into a problem from a third person's perspective. I go back on my past to understand the consequences of the current situation, trying to analyze what the solution could be. Habits to develop, what you can do is that we can keep an eye out of things in our environment. We can participate in debates wherein we argue logically and solve some mystery cases like the way we have our detectives and investigators. Okay, moving ahead is our checklist wherein the head, heart, and hand has to work together. So we have understand the importance of analyzing a situation, an object, or an experience. We should feel and appreciate with analytical skills, and we should develop them. Okay, so homework is now is these questions which we had asked in the beginning of our class. They will have to find it out as a homework, right? So just the same questions, they can find it out as homework. Okay, assessment is, let's follow up with some brain teasers that can be done as assignment. Okay, so here is where you can. Okay, we don't have time now to try this, but I'll just give you the answer. So if at all you guys are you're all taking the screenshots, I'll just tell you the answers. The first one, can you name 3 consecutive days without using the words Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? It will be yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Now, second one, what has roads but no water, hills, and trees? What has roads but no water, hills, and trees? And the answer is a map. Yeah. Third one, what are the next 3 letters in this riddle? OTTFFSS. So we'll try all sorts of adding 1, adding 2, adding 15, all that we will work, but it will not, that's not the answer, because here, the riddle here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer would be 8, 9, 10, which means ENT. Okay, ENT, just the first letter of the numbers. Okay, then in which sport do winners move backwards and losers move forwards? Forward. That is the tug of war. And the last one here we have is, what starts with an E and ends with an E but usually contains only one letter? Tish. It's an envelope. Okay, an envelope which has just one letter. That's what it meant. Okay. So here is where we move on to our second lesson, an African power revolution. Yeah, we have time. Okay. Right, an African power revolution. So it comes, the subdomain is aesthetics. And again, the lesson layout is the why, what, who, and how. And in my understanding, this is what it is. Wherein, why this value? Because innovation is the result of patience. What we intend is originality, right? And here is where I would like to share with you one quote which I read some time back. Follow me if you want to come second. Original has always got its beauty, right? It said, follow me if you want to come second. So originality is something truly unique. So we intend that our children become original, right? They have their originality in their work. Who we look up to here is Dr. Kalam sir and the Chitade couple. We get to know their inspiring story in some time, and how is where it gets covered in the habits to develop section. So class arrangement we have is the book, RBE book, the story. Okay, so there was this time where the polio infected people, they used to have the steel calipers, right? And that used to weigh around 3 kgs. So even if they used to use them and walk, it used to literally, like, they had to drag it because it was really, really heavy for them. So that's where, when it came to the notice of our Kalam sir, he tried, and he came with this innovative solution of making the most light-weighted calipers using the aerospace waste. That was the waste that was out of the missiles that was that was driven out of those. So along with the DRDO and everybody else, he came up with the lightweight calipers. We have Yogesh Chitreji and his wife, Mrs. Sumedha Chitreji, who had installed oxygen generated plants for the soldiers at Siachen. So Siachen is at the altitude of 20,000 altitude, and the temperature there is minus 60 degrees. And when they got to know that we have our soldiers dying there because there was a lack of oxygen, they really felt the need of contributing something to them. And with no medical background, because Yogesh Chitreji was an ex-Air Force officer, and we had Sumedha ji, who was a teacher. With no medical background, they tried doing research, and after 2 years of their research, they came up with some plan. And once the plan was ready, where was the money coming from? So they, went around and they raised the funds, and finally they could inaugurate this oxygen generated plant. And today, around over actually more than 20,000 people have been benefited out of this. So the story here is so something similar that happened with William, who was a young boy who lived at an African country, who the famine struck their village, and because of lesser economic support, he had to leave his school. But he had a very wonderful teacher who allowed him to study, who allowed him to do self study at the school's library. So that's where, when he went there to study, he came across some of the books on windmills, and through that he got an idea, and he generated electricity through the windmill. And how did he do that? With all the available resources which was there in the village, right? So that's how he got this, the solar power pump, and the water tanks, etc. He did something innovative. Activities here that we have is, there is a particular set of guidelines which is given in our teacher's handbook. So I would request you to look at that when you are conducting this group discussion. And some of the questions here is the dust of the, what could be done, or how can we fix the problem of the dust of the chalk from the blackboard, reducing the use of inappropriate language among the students in your class, and utilizing the leftover pages of your notebooks of your class at the end of the year. I remember for this, the fifth point, I remember the Chinmay school year had come up with this initiative of Kora Kagas, wherein they had collected, they used to collect all the books, the used books, and then they used to recycle it and reuse them and stuff of that sort. So it was a pretty, a successful mission here. There's also a note for parents, which we should sort of ask the child to show it to them, to their parents, so that they can also, help the child groom in a particular way. Habits to develop is the certain things that I do is I find solutions to the problems instead of complaining and cribbing. I read and watch videos about innovations and innovators. What can the children do is they can make the best out of waste. They can recycle the pages of used books, read up stories of child entrepreneurs, think of a new design for pencil, eraser, school bag, car, home, and so on. So they can come up with some various designs here. The checklist begins. We have the head, heart, and hand working together. We try to understand that if the patience is the key in finding the right solutions, we should be in a position to appreciate the innovative use of materials and try and come out with innovative ideas for a few routine things. So for a follow-up that we can do is we can give them this one a shoe cardboard box that they must be having it at their home, and they need to make anything out of it. Okay, so the reason why I'm specifically talking about this one particular rectangle box is because this way it will be like, we will be able to see creativity a little better. Instead of just saying you make anything random of your choice, it'll be nicer if we can just give them this material, saying that okay, this is a cardboard box, and you utilize it in a better creative way. So we'll get to see around 40 different things that they can do, just to sort of channelize or just to make them think. Then we have students to give creative ideas on some of the issues the school has. And the third is decorate the class with items made out of waste. So I think that they feel that, like, probably they can all, with the plastic bottles, they can do something of plants, or maybe they can have some decorative items. I remember making, out of those CDs or DVDs that we had made the wind chimes kind of thing, just to give that effect. We had done that, and we had those wall hangers made out of those discs. Um, yeah, so with this, we complete our class 5. We now move on to class 6. Again, an interview on the intellectual development for class 6. We have 3 stories. Under Kindling the Intellect, we have Shivaji Maharaj. Under Independent Thinking, we have the Eureka. And under Management and Aesthetics together, we have something called as Let's Analyze, which is lesson 17. So here, we're going to be focusing, or through this session, we're going to be seeing on Shivaji Maharaj and Let's Analyze story, which is to do with the SWOT analysis of the child. So moving ahead, we have Shivaji Maharaj, the lesson layout of why, what, who, and how. I think the reason why I have put after every lesson here is so that the teachers actually pay attention to this, in the sense of being in grade 5, the children are of that age where they start questioning, or rather I should say that they start rebelling of whatever we tell them to do. So in a slow and in our own pace, we're able to convince ourselves of why, what, who, and how of it. I think that's what we'll be able to deliver to the child, and even they'll be able to conceive it in that right direction. So that's precisely why the emphasis again and again on the why, what, who, and how. Okay. Moving ahead is, in my understanding, analysis is the key to self-improvement, and what we intend is the logical perspective. Anything and everything that they do should have a logical perspective. Who we look up to is the story of army officers, and to get that would get covered in the habits section. Okay, so class arrangement here is where, again, for this as well, we just want them to get their book. And yeah, so before saying the story, we have that speaking becomes quite a natural thing. Everybody talks, right? But it's a few people, but it's the public speaking is an art here. Thinking is natural, but right thinking is an art. And now the question comes, that do we actually think and act, or do we act and then think, right? We probably do think and only then act. But again, the question of, are we thinking it right, is where something that we need to pause and think about it. So one of the quality of a great leader is that they learn from the past, which, be it success or a failure, they plan well for the future and work with alertness and calmness in the present. So that's what they may really make the use of their analytical thinking. Now, what is that? It's basically understanding and analyzing all the available information that they have, and making a clear choice of action is what is known as analytical thinking, right? We need to make a clear choice of action of what we really want to do ahead. And for this, none other than our own Shivaji Maharaj can inspire us to have an analytical thinking here, wherein Adil Shah was somebody who really tried getting onto Shivaji Maharaj, but every time he got defeated, so he sent his commander Afzal Khan, Afzal Khan, and then. So he came with 10,000 or more than 10,000 of his soldiers. So instead of directly going and attacking him, he started looting people, and he was creating a havoc in the village. So Shivaji Maharaj understood his intentions, and he said that why not, let's do a peace treaty, because he was aware that even if he agrees, he's gonna stab me there. So let me also do the same thing to him, in the sense that let me, if he attacks me, I should be ready for it. So he wears a sort of a guard within his under his clothes, and when he agrees with the peace treaty and everything, and this guy hugs him, he knows that he's gonna stab him from the back, and immediately he puts in the tiger claws from his hands, which was beneath. So that's where this wonderful story of how Shivaji Maharaj had the foresightedness, how he analyzed that Afzal Khan had done something similar to a previous king also. So let me be alert this time. Let me. He analyzed the situation and then he took the step forward. So there comes this activity of some of the factors which involves analytical thinking and how do we reflect it from the story. So be it confidence, be it understand the enemy's intentions, be it preparedness, alertness, and courage, all of this is what we need to brainstorm with the kids and write it down. Another wonderful activity here is that we have to solve the following puzzle using analytical thinking, right? So there's something like three reds are making 24, which means one red is what? 8. Exactly, Sridevi ma'am. One red is becomes 8. Perfect. So here is where we have identified a red as red to be 8, and then we have something which equals to 25. So 25 minus 8 would give us what is yellow. And with that we have the yellow, we have which equals to 8. Accordingly, we add it here because there's a subtraction sign. So we add it here, we get what is blue. And accordingly, when we do it, we get the answer. A little more challenging would be the next activity, which we can probably do it on some other occasion. Moving ahead, we have, what do? I play chess. Sudoku is my favorite pastime, and I tend to analyze on what and where did I go wrong, if at all I've committed a mistake. So these are some of the habits which I tend to develop. Some of the things that we can do as kids is read and watch stories about people with their analytical skills, especially the warriors, the scientists. We can play chess because that involves definitely a clear-cut analysis on how we should move ahead, or how we can attack, or how we can protect our king and queen. So playing chess is one of the awesome games that we could recommend to the kids. Solve medium to high level Sudoku, because they being in fifth grade, if I think, because I remember saying Sudoku even in third and fourth grade. So if a child is already used to it, maybe the teacher should motivate the child to start practicing the medium to higher level of Sudoku. If you fail to analyze the situation, approach your teachers or parents to get some clarity. Okay, here comes our checklist here. What is analytical thinking and its importance is what needs to be convinced about. The heart has to appreciate the use of analytical thinking and also get inspired by people with analytical skills. Something that we need to do is understand how this would help us in the real life, how it can be applied in real life. Assessment would be these two, this one link, especially the questions from 8 to 22 can be taken for this age group. I'm just one second. I'm just putting it in the chat box. Okay, please, yeah, I'll just write it here also. 8 to 22 questions. Yeah. Okay, so this can be given for them as an assessment or as an assignment. Okay. Right. So here comes our last topic, which is to let's analyze, right? And of course, in the previous section, we are analyzing the situation. We're analyzing about the enemy, about the opponent's moves, about how the surroundings are. But here, we're trying to go a little within and try to analyze ourselves. Yeah. So this is what this lesson is all about, and the why, what, and who, and how are pretty important here. In my understanding, is we have to, why this value, because it's time where we try to understand ourselves a little deeper, and what we intend is to know who you are and who you want to be in the terms of bettering ourselves. And who we look up to is the person. I mean, here, if we talk about our personal experiences, I think that would give a better impact to the child, because here we're all talking about ourselves. So here is where I think in maybe the previous thing, it's our choice whether we want to talk about personal lives or not, but this is one lesson where I would suggest, or a little recommend, if I can use that word, wherein we use our personal experiences to convey our strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. From the scriptures, Kashtit Sarga talks about that. Kashtit Sarga comes under Valmiki Ramayana, where we have where we have Rama talking to Bharata about how the administration, I mean, how he has to rule in those 14 years where he is in exile. So he gives a beautiful talk, he gives a beautiful teaching to Bharata. And yeah, so that's about Kastit Sarka. So that's about SWOT analysis in itself. Then how is the habits take care of it? So coming to class arrangement, I would recommend that we can have this 3 to 4 A4 sheets. This is again an activity which is not mentioned in the activity book, I mean in our THB book, but just the idea that I thought of we can include it. Of course, the V book is a necessity. Then comes the narrative, wherein there's this concept called kintsugi. Okay, it's called kintsugi. So this is a Japanese concept wherein the cracked, what is it called? The cracked ceramic vessels are sort of, they are broken in a few places, and they are painted with the molten gold. Okay, so those areas are painted with a molten gold, and that has become such a fashion today that it is getting sold in markets for some good amount of prices, right? So what is that we are trying to convey from here is that how we add value to something which we think it's so worthless, or which is useless, but by doing something creative, by doing something innovative here, we try to get our self-worth of this, right? So yeah, we have the story of a boy who one second, sorry, yeah, who is listening to one of the TEDx talks, and he comes across this talk by an industrialist who who goes on to say that how as a child he was a very bright student, but then because of a little poor, I mean, because of a little less conducive environments, that is the economic environment, he was a little he just sunk in. Basically, he started looking down upon himself, because whenever he was seeing his friends, they all were they all were getting some good lunches, they were talking pretty nicer English, their vocabulary and all of that. So slowly he started feeling he had this inferiority complex, and he became a very dull person, until one fine day, his a new teacher came into to his class, and sort of got noticing his behavior, he speaks to the child, and gets him motivated to understand about his strengths and weaknesses. And slowly he the next year, the following year, he becomes the captain, he leads a team, and there he is giving a TEDx talk. So that was about understanding that how self SWOT analysis help us be a better of us, and there's always a scope of improvement. And to know to know how you want to be, or where you want to be, it is important where we are today, or where we are right now. It's as simple as if I tell you that just get up from your room and go to the kitchen, or rather go to a place. And if I once I give you a destination, it's important to know that where you are standing right now, so that you know where you have to go, right? So similarly, it's crucial that we have a self SWOT analysis presently, so that we understand what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are the opportunities that we have, and what are the threats, which is what are the distractions that we can have, or we are having, because of which we are unable to conquer our weaknesses. So here is where we have SWOT analysis telling us in steps, which is again part of the teacher's handbook. Also, it's mentioned in our VE book itself, wherein we are asking the child to list down his SWOT analysis, right? So a couple of things here from my understanding is that this session, once, of course, the story bit is through, but this activity part of it would take a little longer time. So it's once we are done with the story, let's try and allot our session in such a way wherein we are spending some good amount of time for this specific activity. Probably this activity might be taken for the second class also, I don't know, depends. But just, if we can allot the time accordingly, it would help the child also understand, because the strengths and weaknesses of, like, my strength might be Meenama's weakness, or Meenama's weakness might be my strength. So the child needs to be, we have 40 kids in a class, which is completely understandable, but this is something that does need a little personal attention of the teacher, so that the child is directed in the right way. Here also there is another one link which we can utilize as our reference. So I'm just sharing it with you. It's basically a video telling us how we can do a self SWOT analysis. That's what the video tells us. One second, why is this chat box? Yeah. So this link is for understanding how do we do self SWOT analysis. It's an example given by a young girl, and I had found this video when. Okay, I will talk about this. Yeah, I'll just finish this a bit. And I just want to tell you that I had done this similar activity in my college when I was handling personality development paper for first PG students, and I just had a little bit of experience to share. But once, let me finish this, and then some of the habits that we can develop, or that I do, is that, to strengthen my strength, I read good books to get my vocabulary right, or to be a little better with my vocabulary. To sort of conquer my weaknesses, I tend to overthink. So just try and relax my mind and be in the moment. And then I have opportunities, which is to register for my PhD. And Threads is a little lazy in doing the review literature that we need to do, and also reading research articles. So that's a little bit of a distraction that I get, a little bit of laziness that I have for reading those big articles. But yeah. And what can we do as a child? We can spend some 10 minutes understanding ourselves, and what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we have. Spend time strengthening your strengths and utilize on the opportunities. Remember, we've learned how to manage time, so we will be able to spend time in strengthening our strengths and utilizing the opportunities. Also, get into those events which help us overcome our weakness, which can be public speaking is one of the major weaknesses that a child may face. A couple of other weaknesses is that I can think of is, probably they're not very good with drawing, or they're not very good with studies, or they're not very good with studies is one of the major common things that they would think that they have, their weakness is. Or they tend to sleep too much, they don't know where to stop, or they tend to binge watch on some of their TV series. So all of those can probably be their weaknesses, what I'm assuming. And see opportunity in every difficulty is another habit that we can tend to develop. Our checklist comes in here. Understand one's own strength and weakness, appreciate that every challenge is an opportunity to grow, and keep working on your weakness and improve ourselves. The assessment follow-up that we can do is, yeah, so this is where I actually wanted to tell one of my incidences as well from the college, that we can actually do this, wherein we have every 1 to 1.5 months, we can ask them to do a self SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis by itself is a little time taking in the sense, because the child has to really think as to what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are the opportunities that I have, and what is the threat that I see. So this itself would be a little time consuming for the child to think through and then write, but it is recommended that every 1 or 2 months we do it. And the next thing that we can do as a follow-up is, say, after 4 months, wherein they would have done the two times of analysis, they can compare and see if they have been able, from the first analysis, if all the weaknesses have they been converted to strengths or not, right? Or the opportunities that they have they been able to explore them, or have they been able to encounter with the opportunities or not. So those are the kind of comparisons that one can draw. And yeah, so with this I would like to conclude, but just a small incident if we have time. Yeah, okay, I have 4 minutes. So yeah, very quickly, it's just that I had this similar I had a similar activity done in my college, and they are first PG students, okay, first MCOM students. So personal development class, we were doing the self SWOT analysis, and And what I had asked them to do is that they can have their book ready, wherein they do this kind of stuff, and they were sort of given the freedom as to you can use as many colors as you want, you can the way you want. There's no restriction of the number of pages. Just make it, it's your book, it's your thing, so just make it the way you want it to be. And given that freedom, the feedback that I received on this was something so brilliant, that they were like, ma'am, this is the best homework that I have enjoyed doing in my entire life. Right? So we as teachers might think that the students would not appreciate such an idea, or maybe it's very easily said than done, or the students will not take it seriously, right? All of these inhibitions we may have, but if we are explaining it to them in the right sense, wherein certain level of freedom is given, of course the structure we can set, like I had for my thing, I had set a structure that you make it into the matrix form. One, that was one option. And second thing is, you can have some of the quotes as well, like it can be Indian author, I mean Indian personality or a foreign personality. You can have a quote, you need to have what we had discussed in the class, and we need to have what you have understood. So those were the three parameters which I had set for them. So this was just to give them a structure so that everybody is in having a kind of a uniformity, but the way they want to do it, how they want to do it, colors, pencils, anything, it's totally your choice. And in fact, I had this one student of mine, who had made a video on her SWOT analysis. And that video was amazingly awesome. And she said that, ma'am, actually speaking, this is the first time I tried making a video. I don't know how, she utilized with her some app. I mean, I don't know, but she had used that app for the first time, and she said that, ma'am, I just wanted to do something different, so I thought of doing it this way. And she had her SWOT analysis through a video. So the students do come out with creativity if they are given that sort of a little bit of freedom with maybe a structure, so that they are all channeled. With this, I conclude my today's session. Thank you so much. And yes, I did see the energy that I could have in the first session. So thank you so much. And a big bow to the entire crowd for today. Thank you so much, and Hari Om.